If you're ready, sir. Privileged to now recognize Mr. Jackson for his testimony. As you know, you have 5 minutes, and it's a pleasure to be able to recognize you today. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairman Diaz-Balart. Thank you, Ranking Member Frankel and members of the subcommittee. I come before you not only as a legislator, but as a witness to a moment in our nation's history that will be judged not by the strength of our rhetoric, but by the depth of our moral courage. There are times in the life of a nation when the question is not what we can afford, but who we are willing to become. This bill, as it stands, asks us to become smaller than we have been. It asks us to forget the American leadership has never been defined solely by the reach of its military, but by the breadth of its humanity. It asks us to turn away from the hungry child, from the sick mother, from the fragile democracy struggling to stand, and in doing so, to turn away from ourselves. I must say it plainly, this is a bad bill. It is bad not only because of what it cuts, but because of what it reveals. It reveals a retreat from responsibility, a shrinking of vision, a quiet but devastating abandonment of those who have long looked to this nation not as a savior, but as a partner in the long, difficult work of survival and dignity. We are told that these cuts are necessary, and I would ask, necessary for whom? Necessary for what? Because I can assure you there is nothing necessary about denying medicine to those living with HIV and AIDS. There is nothing inevitable about cutting programs that have saved millions of lives. There is nothing justified in weakening initiatives like PEPFAR and the Global Fund, which have stood as rare and shining examples of what this country can achieve when it chooses compassion over indifferences. When we cut these programs, we do not simply balance a ledger, we are breaking a promise. And in breaking that promise, we do something far more dangerous than any foreign adversary could hope to do. We isolate ourselves. At a time when the challenges we face, pandemics, conflict, climate instability, demand partnerships, we are choosing withdrawal. At a time when our allies look to us for steadiness, we are offering uncertainty and being unstable. At a time when the world needs leadership rooted in shared humanity, we are offering something colder, something much smaller. This is not strength, I would say, this is surrender, of principle, of purpose, and of our identity. And let us be honest about the consequences, because when we retreat from our obligations, when we decide that the suffering of others is no longer our concern, the results are not abstract. They are real, they are devastating. We have burned food while people have starved. We have denied medicine while people have suffered. We have turned systems of care into symbols of neglect. And we must ask ourselves, what does it mean for a nation so wealthy, so powerful, to choose such a path? Our moral traditions, yes, even those of us who claim to hold dear, teach us something very different. They teach us that whether we do what we do for the least of these, we do to each other. They remind us that our worth is measured not in dominance, but in mercy, not in how we protect our borders, but how we protect human life. If we abandon that teaching, then no budget can save us, no defense can shield us, because we have already lost something far more valuable and essential. I stand here today to say to you that our foreign policy must remain grounded in morality, not as an afterthought, not as a luxury, but as our very foundation. We must fully fund the programs that fight diseases, that reduce poverty, that strengthen democratic institutions, and that prevent conflict before it begins. We must invest in diplomacy not because it is easy, but because it is necessary. We must choose compassion not because it is sentimental, but also because it is strategic. Because let me be clear, when we save lives abroad, we strengthen our security at home. When we build stability elsewhere, we protect our own future. When we lead with humanity, we reaffirm our very ideals that give this nation its meaning. This is not charity, this is wisdom. This is not weakness, this is the power of the highest order. So I urge this subcommittee, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member, I urge my colleagues to reject the false choice between strength and compassion, and to remember that the United States has always been at its best when it refused the choice entirely. We can be a nation that leads with principle. We can be a nation that honors its commitments. We can be a nation that understands that its greatness lies not in how much it can take from the world, but in how much it is willing to give. But we must decide, and the world is watching. Thank you. I yield back.
Yeah.